Picture this. It's 1973. Greece is locked in the iron grip of a military dictatorship. For 7 long years, basic civil rights, gone. Opponents, jailed, or worse. The regime of the colonels seems completely untouchable. But deep in the heart of Athens, a single act of defiance is about to kick off a chain reaction that nobody, and I mean nobody, saw coming.
This image right here, it captures the exact moment a rebellion was brutally put down. But what if I told you that this very act of suppression was the single biggest mistake the dictatorship ever made? What if this moment, this apparent defeat, was actually the first domino to fall in a chain that would bring the whole regime crashing down?
It sounds kind of impossible, doesn't it? How on earth could a failed student uprising lead to the downfall of a powerful military junta just 8 months later? Well, that is the incredible historical puzzle we're going to piece together today. And let me tell you, the answer is a wild story of unintended consequences, fatal mistakes, and just unbelievable courage.
Okay, so our story kicks off at the Athens Polytechnic University. In this climate of total fear and depression, the students there decide, you know what? Enough is enough. And what starts as a simple strike is about to become the ultimate symbol of defiance against the entire junta.
Now, to really get why this was such a big deal, you have to understand the world they were living in. Back in 1967, a group of colonels literally drove their tanks into Athens and seized power. For the next 6.5 years, they ruled with an iron fist. So when these students went on strike, they weren't just protesting some new rule, they were challenging the very foundation of the state. And this thing just exploded. It went way beyond the university walls, and it happened almost instantly. Suddenly, it wasn't just students. Thousands of workers, farmers, and everyday people flooded the streets to show their support. It was like the strike had tapped into years of anger that was just simmering below the surface, and it turned into this massive, citywide revolt against the junta.
To get their message out, the students got creative. They cobbled together a makeshift radio station using lab equipment. This broadcast, often with a 21-year-old student named Maria Dominaki on the mic, became the voice of the entire rebellion. It absolutely electrified Athens, calling on citizens to join them and turning the Polytechnic into the heart of a free Greece.
The junta, seeing its authority being challenged so publicly, decided to respond. Not with talks, not with negotiation, but with pure, overwhelming force. This popular uprising was about to collide head-on with the brute power of the state.
The streets around the Polytechnic just descended into total chaos. People started throwing up makeshift barricades with whatever they could find. Cars, buses, anything. The police fought back hard, first with tear gas that choked the entire area, but then with clubs and, chillingly, with live ammunition. Eyewitnesses describe a complete night of terror, with gunfire just echoing through the city.
And then came the climax, right in the dead of night. Around 3 a.m., the regime sent in the army. An AMX-30 tank rolled down the street and pointed itself straight at the main gate of the Polytechnic. Students were literally clinging to the railings, singing the national anthem in defiance. And then, the tank charged forward.
After the junta fell, an official investigation confirmed that while no students died inside the campus that night, 24 civilians were killed in the surrounding streets during the crackdown. Hundreds more were injured. Please remember to subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell, share and like my videos. The information in the video is compiled from open sources.
So, the uprising was crushed. Game over, right? Well, no, because this is where the story takes its most unexpected turn. The violent crackdown didn't strengthen the junta. It blew open a deep fracture within its own leadership, and that set off a power struggle that would prove fatal.
See, at the very top of the junta, you had 2 guys with very different ideas. You had the dictator, Papadopoulos, who was actually trying this weird, controlled liberalization to make the regime look a little better to the outside world. But then you had his secret police chief, the notorious hardliner, Dimitrios Ioannidis, who thought all that was just weakness. He believed the only way to rule was with an even tighter iron fist.
For Ioannidis, the Polytechnic uprising was the perfect excuse. He used the chaos to argue that Papadopoulos had lost control of the country. Just 1 week after the crackdown, he staged his own internal coup, threw Papadopoulos out, and made himself the new, shadowy dictator of Greece. The regime had just become way more extreme.
Now that he was in total control, the new hardline Ioannidis regime felt like it needed a big, flashy win to justify its power. So it decided to make a massive, reckless gamble in foreign policy, a move that would become its own undoing.
To understand this gamble, you really just need to know one word: enosis. For decades, it had been this dream for Greek nationalists, the political union of the island nation of Cyprus with Greece. Ioannidis decided he would be the guy to finally make it happen, by force if he had to.
So on July 15, 1974, the junta in Athens sponsored a coup in Cyprus. They overthrew the island's president, Archbishop Makarios, and installed a puppet leader named Nikos Samson, a guy whose actual political slogan was "Death to the Turks." The fallout from this would be immediate and absolutely catastrophic.
That gamble in Cyprus, it wasn't a show of strength. It was a pure act of desperation, and it was about to backfire in the most spectacular way, bringing the entire 7-year dictatorship to a sudden and humiliating end.
Just 5 days later, on July 20th, Turkey responded. Citing the coup and its right to protect the Turkish Cypriot minority on the island, it launched a full-scale military invasion of northern Cyprus. The Athens junta had just provoked a war with a major NATO power.
And this is where the regime was truly exposed for what it was. When the junta tried to order a general mobilization to fight Turkey, the whole thing was a chaotic, incompetent mess. The Greek military was in total disarray. These hardline dictators, who seized power claiming to be strong military leaders, were revealed to be completely inept. They were disgraced and they were powerless.
And there it is. That was the final chain reaction. The overreach in Cyprus led directly to the Turkish invasion. The invasion led to a humiliating military failure, and that failure left the junta with zero authority or credibility. The armed forces basically just refused to support them anymore.
With the country on the brink of war and the government having completely fallen apart, the military chiefs did the only thing they could. On July 24, 1974, they handed power back to civilian politicians. Constantine Karamanlis was called back from exile in Paris to form a new government. And just like that, after 7 years, the dictatorship was over.
So let's bring it all back to that first question. The students at the Polytechnic, they lost their battle in the most brutal way imaginable. But their sacrifice exposed a crack in the regime that, through a cascade of arrogance and sheer incompetence, ended up shattering the entire dictatorship. It's just a powerful reminder that sometimes the path to victory begins with what looks like a tragic defeat.